Jimmy Church is a radio, film, and television host for the Game Changer Network. He's a host of Fade to Black. How many guys are familiar with Fade to Black? Yeah. Bunch of fader nuts out there. It's on the Game Changer Network and syndicated on KJCR, KUNX, iHeartRADIO, TSL, TuneIn, and Spreaker. From 2014 to 2020, he was a fill-in host on Coast to Coast AM on Friday nights and Saturday nights, right? And you'll hear his dulcet voice and you'll go, oh yeah, that makes sense. He was the host. I'm sure a lot of you did hear him. I was even on Coast to Coast. He was kind enough to drag me into the studio one night and we did the show. And I'll never forget how tired I was because it was 2:30 or something like that when we were shutting down. Oh my God. But we took, call-ins and all this. It was great. Jimmy's a producer and co-star of the 2021 feature film, The Observers, and the narrator of the 2021 hit film, Extraordinary, The Revelations, both released by 1091 Films. He's also the star of the 2022 Forbidden Knowledge film, The Black Knight Satellite, Beyond the Signal, and I would love to see that movie. I mean, it just came out, premiered a few months ago, Jim? 3 months ago. Yeah. He's co-starred in the History Channel Hangar 1, the UFO Files, Time Beings, and is the host of the Unexplained and Breaking Mysterious. He's also appeared on Expedition X on the Travel Channel and featured in the documentary UFO Coverups, Secrets Revealed. Fade to Black is a late-night, long-form conversation talk show with a style that is throwback to the old days of overnight AM radio with hosts like Long John Neville, open conversations with only the very best and brightest guests covering UFOs, ghosts, lost civilizations, secret governments, agendas, time travel, and alternate realities. Love all those subjects. Fade to Black reaches out to the next generation with a fresh take on the world around us. If you guys would, put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Jimmy Church, my very good friend, Jimmy Church. Bring it in. Wow. Wow.
How is everybody? Seriously, 2 years. 2 years, we're back. We're going to do things a little bit different tonight. This is an opportunity. I look at it like this. So let me lay some ground rules out here. If I was, this mic is a little hot, a little feedbacky. Hey, John, could you bring it down just a skosh for me? In that, I want everybody to participate tonight. Tonight we're going to talk. If I was coming in as an attendee like I've done for so many years here, and somebody like myself was on this stage, I would want to know the secret stuff. I want to know what goes on at Coast to Coast. What's it like to be in the media? How does the media handle UFOs? Any Men in Black, any CIA, any this, any that. What do you really know? So tonight I'm going to spill my guts. Are you guys into that? Now, I can share UFO stories and talk about, you can get that anywhere. Tonight, this is an opportunity for me to tell you exactly what goes on. I've got a lot of friends here. Jeff, my man, Jeff Harmon's right here. Everybody say hi to Jeff Harmon. Amazing astrologer, has been on the show many times, guest at my house. That's Captain Ron back there. Captain Ron, everybody knows Captain Ron, great radio host. Guest at my house and somebody that I steal my best material from. That is Captain Ron. But anyway, a lot of friends here. And of course, Steve and Wolf. I've known Wolf for almost 40 years, this young man right here. And one of the things that we do is we sit around at my house and we talk about things. And it doesn't really get out into the public. And so I'm going to do that tonight. What do we do? I mean, if you've heard some of Jeff's stories sitting at my dinner table and the things that we talk about, right? These are private things, but shouldn't we share some of that stuff, some of the secret stuff? Camille knows all the secret stuff right there. Everybody say hi to Camille, actress, amazing actress. Okay. I'm going to start with this. I had a weird day of synchronicities. That's I'm going to get choked up. That's my grandma June. She died this morning. So she went to the great beyond. There she is. And I got to get through this. And here's the thing. She passed away at 7:30 this morning. Last week, how many, I need a show of hands. Synchronicities. Show of hands. I would expect the entire room. Do you guys pay attention to synchronicities? Right? Okay, I got tears. So last week, I wrapped the show, and I'm walking up the stairs at my house, and she pops in my head. Where did that come from, right? It was just like weird. Nothing, I don't have anything to report. It wasn't like she said, okay, Jimmy, goodbye. You know, it wasn't like that. No. But so I go to bed. I wake up in the morning. It's like I dreamt about Grandma. I didn't remember the dream, but I did. She passes away today. And I call my mom. My mom texted me, and I called my mom. This is 9 o'clock this morning. And this is what my mom said. She goes, after she passed, I went over, and in her bed, she had, her last name's Fox. And she has a little purse with this fox on it. And she goes, you know the purse? I said, I do. I know the purse. She sleeps with that purse. I said, okay. And she goes, I opened it, and guess what was in it? I said, what? She said, a framed picture of the two of you. And she slept with it every night. And I went, Mom, I got to tell you about this dream last week. What, right? And now, I like to say that I'm woo, and we have but this happened today. And I'm talking to my mom, and I'm thinking, and I had dismissed the dream and the thought of why she popped in my head because there wasn't anything there, right? And I just let it go past me. When that happened today, and my mom told me about the picture in her purse, I said, what picture? She said, it was the picture you took last year together with her perfect hair. It was that picture right there. Another synchronicity today. Anybody have any synchronicities, weirdness go on today? No? Okay. Ramon. Say hi to Ramon. Everybody, turn around. That's Ramon. How you doing, brother? Lori Wagner. I did a film last year called Extraordinary: The Revelations. I was the narrator in the film. It was great. And Lori was supposed to be here tonight, and she was the producer on the film. And so I'm setting up, and I'm getting pictures ready. And I'm in a church, so I can't lie, right? I can't even exaggerate. This is what happened like 4 hours ago. I'm clicking on this folder with her name on it to bring over the picture of us for the film for tonight, because I was going to introduce her. My friggin' phone lights up. It's Lori as I'm clicking on the folder. And she goes, I can't make it tonight. I said, Lori, that's not what's important. What's important was I was just clicking on your picture when you called. And she said, I can't make it tonight because I'm a grandmother. So this morning at 7:30, she didn't, her daughter did, had Eli at 7:30 when my grandmother passed. Isn't that just like, it was like this weird day. I'm like, I got UPARS tonight, man. I got to get through all of this. So that was my day of synchronicities. Now, it's very important to me. Steve just mentioned, I didn't realize this, that I was the last speaker here 2 years ago, and I'm speaking here tonight after 2 years. But but to get to this point and to be able to hang out with everybody. And one of the things that I don't like is when you go to a friend's house, your parents' house, and they go, let me take out my photo album. And you're like, oh, dude, no. Photo albums are important to the people that have them. I'm going to go through some pictures tonight, and I'm not going to bore everybody with this is your life, this is the life of Jimmy Church. I'm not going to do that, but it's important for me to establish as we start to talk about all this craziness that my life has turned into over the last 10 years, how I actually got here. So I want to spend a few minutes doing this. And these images basically haven't really been seen out there, and I wanted to be very selective. A couple have, like this first one. Alex, can you go to the next picture? That's me. That's me. I'm 14 years old. I'm a sophomore in high school in Panama. And please note the puka shell necklace. I'm pretty proud of that necklace. But there I am at 14, and I showed this picture for a reason. Not only the haircut, of course. Leif Garrett comes to mind. A friend of mine, this is in Panama, this is in Central America, came over to my house a few years ago. He's a drummer. We went to high school together. And Jason Martell was over. We were having this dinner. And my friend said, Jimmy, do you remember when we were 14 in Panama, we had that UFO sighting? I said, what? I don't. He goes, we were sitting out, we were drinking and smoking pot, and you saw, and it was a thing with lights, and it was round, it was a flying. I said, I don't remember that. Because we saw it for hours. And he was so colorful in reviewing this story, and I don't remember it. Now, which is a scarier part, because now I know what I know. I'm thinking, man, did I get abducted? What happened? Missing time? But my interest in all of this started at a very young age. And that first sighting was when I was 14. Alex, next slide. There I am, 15 years old, playing guitar. This is in Indianapolis. Next slide. That's my senior picture. Look at the shirt. No puka shell. That's 3 years later. I obviously liked plaid t-shirts. But what is interesting here, that's not my middle initial. It's A. But it says soccer, 10th and 11th grade, and assistant in the 12th grade. Next slide. Because I worked in the bookstore. That's me right there. Look at that pose. And look at everybody else, right? And I had attitude at the age of 16, but that's my senior year, and this is in Indianapolis. Next slide. That's me at Disneyland. And we're going to stop at this picture and the next picture. I flew out from Indianapolis to California. I'm 21 years old in this picture, and it was my first stop, Disneyland, and I gotta say, I was fashion forward. There I am, 21 years old, and this is when life changed. Next slide. So what ended up happening? Yeah, that's me. That's actually me. During this time, I went to a friend of mine's house in Orange County, and I met his brother. And I was walking through, talk about moments. I was walking through his house to go to the bathroom, and I look in this office, and I see in this office a Billy Meyer book. Okay? This is 1984. And I stopped and I walked into the office, And I looked down, and you know the coffee table book with the Billy Meyer full color, what do they call it? The wedding cake UFO on the cover. And it's it's this big, right? And I start flipping through it. Who's this Billy Meyer guy? And I was off to the races. Next slide. So there I am. Look at the cigarette too. You gotta have the cigarette. So while all of this is going on in my life, guitars, everybody has seen pictures of my studio, and you see all of the guitars and stuff. Those aren't there for decoration. A guitar was my life. But when you look at this picture and I look at it, and I look into those eyes, I was all about E.T. I was about the search of this, and I was collecting books, and I was collecting videos, and I was reading everything that I could in search of Leonard Nimoy, whatever was UFOs uncovered live on NBC, whatever. That was my life, and it was my focus. And this was before Art Bell. This was at a period of my life where, yeah, it was guitars, but I knew that something was going on. My mom influenced me a lot on this and things, but I kept everything secret. I didn't talk about it. I didn't have friends that I could talk to about it. I had, everybody's got a little secret in their house that you don't tell anybody. It's locked up. It's somewhere in the back, and you don't share. For me, it was UFOs. It was just books and things and videos and trying to uncover the truth to all of this. Well, this was in the 80s. 1990 rolls around. Next slide. 1990 rolls around. That's me. I changed. I cut my hair off. And I'm working for a company called Alesis. If there are any musicians in here, you know what Alesis was. And I was the West Coast, and then eventually the national marketing guy and in sales. And I drove around. All over the West Coast. We were based here in LA. That picture is in Culver City. Everybody in this picture are still friends of mine to this day. Later on, the guy in the back with the glasses, that's Jeff Lady. And on all of my TV shows, he worked for Tascam and provided all of the gear that you see in the TV shows. So we're still friends to this day. But it was during this period where everything just woke up. I'm driving around in Southern California, and 93, I'm coming up from San Diego, and I'm listening to talk radio, and I stumble upon Art Bell. First Coast to Coast just started. And I'm driving back to Sherman Oaks. I lived right up the street from here. And I'm like, UFOs, man, what? Right? Late night talk radio? Coast to Coast had just started. And the funny part to this story is I lived on Dickens. We're going to be talking about Coast to Coast tonight. I lived on Coast to Coast is on Dickens. It was across the street from my house in Sherman Oaks. Now, how many people knew? It's still there. Who knew that Coast to Coast broadcasts out of Sherman Oaks? Nobody. Oh, Captain Ron. But Steve just said he was with me on Coast to Coast. That was right here. Coast to Coast studios are on Ventura Boulevard and Sepulveda Boulevard, right there across the street from the Sherman Oaks Galleria. So I'm driving home, and I'm listening to Art Bell. And at this time, the internet started to take off all at the same time. And everything happened to me, to all of us. It was Coast to Coast. It was the Majestic documents came out. The alien autopsy video happened. Paranet and the internet happened. Coast to Coast happened. All at the same time, and my head was swimming. And that's when I had the idea. There's this thing in my head. I'm listening to Art. I'm listening to Coast. I'm watching these videos. I'm seeing what's happening with the MJ-12 documents on the internet, William Cooper, and this flood of information started to all happen at the same time. And I needed to figure out how to represent the community. That was this thing in my head. How do I do this? There's something happening, and I need to participate. I need to get involved. Next slide. That's the Coast to Coast telephone. There it is. That's it. That's the Coast to Coast telephone. I want you to look. Wild card, wild card, wild card, wild card. West, east of the Rockies, west of the Rockies. That's it, right there. That's the Coast to Coast telephone. How do I get from where I'm at to that? And I was fixated on it. And there's, in the world, there's one Art Bell, there's one George Norrie, that's it. And how do I squeeze and weasel my way into this? Well, that was the plan. And it all happened. So I went back to school and for journalism and for broadcast. And in class one day, we had a teacher that was working for CNN at the time. And I said, what about UFOs? They're talking about sports and how to do international government political reporting. And I said, no. What about the UFOs? He goes, what? I said, you're telling us how this is done. So you go to your news director and you've got a show about the military, or you've got a story about politics. But what about UFOs? He goes, I would never do that. Nobody would. I said, why not? It's the kiss of death in journalism, in broadcast. And I knew at that moment, I'm in a church, I'm telling you, that's what I was going to do. And that was it. So I came here into this building. I started doing sports, and my career started to take off. I come here and I meet Steve. Wolf and I have been friends for a long time. I meet Dennis. Dennis has done my audio and video at just about every conference in every state for the last 10 years. This man is everywhere all the time. Thank you so much, Dennis, for everything. Great friend. And I walk in those doors and I meet Alex Mistretta first. Alex, you can't see him, he's back there. And I realized that I had arrived. And so what we're going to wrap up this part of the presentation in just a second. But this is how it started. So it was Steve, it was Wolf, it was Alex, and we get together over at my house, and I said, I want to do a radio show. There was no internet radio. There was nothing going on. YouTube had just started, and I need to figure out how to make audio work on the internet and design a website and stuff. But so I talked them into it, and it wasn't called Fade to Black. It was called, Steve, it was called Jimmy Church Against the World, right? Right? And so we come up with this idea, and Fade to Black launches, Art Bell leaves, I go over to Art Bell's network and I sit in for him, and then I got the invitation from George Norrie to do Coast to Coast. And what I realized, next slide, what I realized at this time was now I'm a hardcore member of the media. This is a shot of Coast to Coast. I took it. That's where I stand every night. A couple of things here, because we're going to go to this next image in a second. That's my microphone. There's the phone. That's the computer. My producer sits back here behind the glass. That's my engineer, and different controls for my voice and stuff. But that's where I stand. That's it. That's the Coast Studios. Next slide. I want you to look at this. That's my engineer, Nathan. Great kid. But see that clock? It's 8 minutes to showtime. Coast goes live at 10 o'clock. And I'm standing there and I went, man, how did I get here? Somebody pinch me. I need to take a picture of this. I've never showed this to anybody. The front door's open to the hallways. We're alone. This computer here, that's the incoming calls, right? We're going to Bob in Baton Rouge. That lights up there. There's my phones. There's the microphone. You can see I'm going live in 8 minutes. But Steve, you know what's interesting about this photograph? My guest that night was Mark McCandlish. Yeah. I zoomed in and you can actually read my show notes if you... But so on this particular night, I had Mark McCandlish and we're going live, and there you go. Next slide. That's what I do during the breaks at Coast to Coast. I play air guitar. That's a real shot. Next slide. I put this in here because none of these images, Nathan would sit there and take pictures of me all night. But obviously I'm going, duh, what am I doing next? Next slide. That's live on the air, everybody. And there you go. So this is the internet. When I say that I'm on Twitter and I say I have Twitter to my left, I literally have it to my left. That's it. That's the show notes, a microphone. No magic. It's just me speaking. Next slide. This is me in the Coast Studios during a commercial break, and that's what it's like at 12 midnight. There's nobody in the building. It's 16 floors. We're on the 5th floor. That's an elevated floor. Now, I led all of this up to show you this video that's never been seen. Alex, go to the video at the end that says Coast to Coast Walk-In, C2C Walk-In, right there. Click on that. Check this out.
Yep, as you can see, it's 18 minutes to showtime. Tonight, my guests are Margot Mateus and Lori McDonald. Everybody have a good time. Peace out.
Now, how trippy is that? I mean, and everybody wonders, you know, what's the studio like? What goes on? I am alone. I am alone in that building with the producer and engineer till 2 o'clock in the morning. Steve has been in the studio with me. Jeff, do you ever do Coast with me in the studio? Not in the studio. Not in the studio. Okay. But that's it. That's the Coast to Coast studio. Okay, so go back to the last slide. This past weekend, now this is where we're going to start talking about the Men in Black and the NRO and the Space Force. And go to the Space Force video. Alex, do you see it? Vandenberg. There it is, SpaceX. All right. I want to thank Elon Musk for clearing out the beach for us today. We're the only ones here. And the rocket is sitting right out there. You can see it. And it's just us and a flock of seagulls. We're here at Vandenberg, right at the beach at Vandenberg, about 5 miles away. And you can see it's starting to steam up. So, and it's liftoff. Wow, that's incredible.
What? That's one big piece of metal.
Look how bright it is.
Looks like it's going slow.
Oh my God. I can feel the heat.
All that smoke.
Oh, that is crazy.
It's a lot of ponies.
Is that majestic or what?
Can't believe we could do this. There's a smooth contrail.
What does that mean? Is it going to the rats?
Somebody got the first half because I got the hit before. Like zeros. It's a double push, dude.
Is it already coming down?
Still going up. Still going up. You head south for a little bit, they say. Yeah. Oh, it's 25,000. So is it just a get it?
That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Hands down.
I want to say it's like 40,000. What's that smoke dog? Still going. Is that the second stage falling?
So now, what about the booster? We're not going to see that, huh?
It's gonna land somewhere. Hopefully.
I cannot believe. That was amazing. Brad, was that amazing?
Mind blowing. You can't believe it until you
How about
see
the
it
thunder
and
in the
feel it.
chest? The thunder in the chest, huh?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Once it kicks in, you know something serious is going on up there.
You know the trippy part for me was how bright, orange, yellow it was.
It's like super bright, almost white.
Crazy. Wow, that was amazing. SpaceX here at Vandenberg Space Force Base, and here with Brad Harris, of course. Hey, Brad, great day, man.
Right on. Thanks for coming out, and we'll have to do this again next time.
This is incredible. And now I'm gonna hit the Space Force gift shop. Yeah, got to get a hat.
I'll see you guys a little later.
Brad, say yo.
Yeah. I'll see you guys later. Take care.
This is what's strange, and I have been put into this position of like being at the center of the spokes, right? The wheel, the spokes, and I hear from everybody all the time. Email, conversations, things like this, where I am fully convinced now, with all of the contact that I've made with individuals, that there is something going on. I know this, but the other side of it is science is starting to prove this to be true. What they're not doing is they're not listening to people like you. And so for me, being a member of the media, now I don't talk about this stuff, and I certainly don't talk about it on the air. We're going to talk about this right now. In 2017, things changed. Leading up to 2017, I felt like my voice wasn't being heard by the media, that I was on my own. You know, George is doing his thing, and there are a couple of other, but really there wasn't any action for us. And I was getting very frustrated. I'm trying to represent the community. I'm listening to people like yourself. And I know that there's something going on. I've had my own experiences. I've done things. I've been out there in public. Steve and I have had sightings all over the country. We've had some of the most amazing sightings together. I would go on coast to coast. I would do things in the media. I would do it on my TV show. And I got zero response. And it's frustrating to me. And then 2017 rolls around. Can we talk? Can I just be honest with you? 2017 rolls around. And TTSA, great. And the article in the New York Times, great. And disclosure, great. But they were trying to wrestle control of the message. It wasn't your message. It wasn't my message. It was their view. And they're presenting it to the media and the way that the New York Times is presenting it. And I'm thinking to myself, they're not talking about the community. They're not talking about any sightings that we have had. What about the experiencers and the abductees? What about Travis Walton? Can we talk about that for a minute? And they wouldn't. And it was so frustrating to me. And I got into a pretty rough exchange with those over at TTSA. I'm just going to be straight with you, where I kept telling them, what about the community? And I was told, the community doesn't know anything. We're the specialist here. We're going to control this message. I said, no, you're not. And if that's the way you're going to do it, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I had DeLong on Fade to Black. I did my stuff on Coast and trying to support what they were doing, but you couldn't ignore the community. And I felt like my hands were tied. And so when somebody comes up to me and says, well, what about interdimensional? What about abductions? What about experiencers? What about our voice? I said, exactly. And that's what needs to be heard. And for the last 4 or 5 years, where I am, as a member of the media, I'm telling you, as a member of the media, as a leader in this community, I was totally frustrated and angry that we are not hearing from myself. You would think that, when I say myself, I'm talking about an experiencer, somebody that's seen things. Why not go and talk to the witnesses at Rendlesham? They're all alive. Why have this view of the Department of Defense and the United States Navy when it comes to UFOs and contact and what's going on out there? Your voice needs to be heard. Everybody in this room needs to be heard. We've had our own experiences. And the reasons why all of you are here tonight, I'm going to tell you, it's personal. I don't know what brings you here. I don't. But there's a personal journey that you're on, right? So let me hear it, right? It's a personal journey. And you're out there seeking answers. And I can tell you that the answers that you seek aren't being what's fed to you from the Department of Defense or the Senate or the House Intelligence Committee, which is great. I applaud the effort, but it's not the reason why we're here. We're not here because of the United States Navy. It's because we had a sighting. We've made contact. Something strange happened in our lives that we can't explain, and we're out there chasing these answers. And that's what I'm here for, and I'm never going to give up on that. And it's representing the community, which got me here to be. That's why I showed you everything. I was just one of you. I was just somebody that walked into a MUFON meeting one day and decided to chase this down, and I'm not going to give up the fight. I'm just not going to do it. So that's it. That's my story. Okay, so I just moved to Palmdale. Before you run the video, yeah, that's it there. Just click pause, because I'm going to set this up a little bit. Pause right there in the middle. Okay. I live in Palmdale, which is about 40 miles from where we are standing. Everybody here knows that Palmdale is like one of the most secret places in the United States, if not the world. Lockheed Skunk Works is out there. Edwards Air Force Base is out there. Lots of UFO contacts, sightings in the sky. I'll get to some of that in a second. But I live 1 mile from Skunk Works. Who has been to my house? Captain Ron's been to my house. Wolf's been to my house. Steve's been to my house. Lisa's been to my house. How close is my house to Skunk Works?
1 mile.
1 mile. Not 10. I'm not exaggerating. From my backyard, I'm looking at Skunk Works. The runway faces my house. And there is stuff taking off, flying around. I'll share some stories, and I've got this video. This is what goes on here. This video that I'm going to show, I can take you through my phone and show you stuff that I've shot this month that is crazier than what's there. So roll the video. This was shot last month in my backyard.
I don't know what this is. It just lit up.
It's facing east. That's over
1, 2,
Skunk
3.
Works. You see the 3 lights? Can everybody see that? Okay, watch. Crazy Town's about
Just
to
like that.
kick off.
I have no idea. 2 seconds ago it was 1. Then the bottom right lit up, then the top one lit up. I went and grabbed my phone. So I'm here 10 seconds later. Here we are. Very interesting.
– 10:30. I just finished the radio show. I was cooking pasta.
There's a 4th.
Watch, just keep watching.
And a 5th. What is going on? Wow. That's pretty dramatic.
Yep. It's a giant C5A. Yeah, there's 3. The top one took off.
It's massive, whatever it is.
But watch what this plane does. It doesn't even take off. It makes a U-turn. Watch this.
Well, check this out. One of the lights just disappeared. The top one.
I mean, I'm losing my mind with all of this. The plane turned around and landed. It took off
This
and
one
landed.
just made a U-turn. What is going on in my backyard?
Yeah. So, back to my point. Wow, this is all mysterious. Can you guys see me? It's kind of cool. Is that the media isn't interested in
battery's
stuff
gonna
like
die.
this. You can stop the, Alex, you can stop it. My battery goes dead right here. Just see, it's at the end of the video. It died. So things like this happen all the time, and I report it all the time. And the media will not cover it. I don't want to relive a bunch of experiences that I've told over and over again, but here's the frustration. We were out, Steve was with us, Lisa was with us. We're out in the middle of the desert. Alex was with us. I don't think Wolf was there. But there was about 100, 150 of us out. And I have this, all of us, have this crazy sighting, and this green ball went across the ground in the desert. It's all on video. There's a documentary film crew there. And it takes off. It's the famous story, the green chrome balls. And it takes off and turns into a star. And so that week, now you're a member of the media, right? I'm speaking to 2 million people a night. Biggest radio show, biggest overnight show in the world. Biggest, right? Somebody's going to listen to me, right? No, they don't. And that's the frustration. So I go and I speak to Premier, and they said, so what are you going to do this Friday on the show? I said, the guest is going to be me. Why? And I tell them, we just had this amazing sighting, and okay, all right. I said, I'll take calls and we'll talk about this. So I tell the story, and I take calls, and it's all night. I do 4 hours of this on Coast to Coast. And I'm expecting, and this is, I want everybody to really listen to what I'm saying. This is 2015. As a member of the media, if Anderson Cooper or somebody in the media goes and tells a fantastic story about this, you'd think there'd be some coverage. Somebody would be interested. And I go and I tell the story, and we talk about it all night. We've got video, we've got this, and hundreds of witnesses. And I'm waiting to hear from somebody, from Fox, from CNN, from BBC. Nothing. Nobody paid attention. And that was, and I just realized at that point, it can't continue like this. I am going to be a voice. Just imagine for a second if I didn't go on the radio and talk about this. That means the 200 people that were there that all witnessed this, now it's just a story. And that's not right. So I am going to go and I'm going to speak about this, and I'm going to be very loud. The rest of the media wasn't interested. TTSA comes along, and suddenly the media flipped a switch, and now they want to talk about it because I guess it's the Department of the Defense and the military. But me and my friends like you, they're not interested in. And that's frustrating. So last year, the BBC comes out, and Captain Ron was there. We're in Laughlin, and I'm hosting this event. And I'm standing there, I hear this lady from the BBC comes, excuse me, where can we find Jimmy Church? I was like, what? What's going on? We're the BBC, we're here too. And I said, well, I'm Jimmy Church. So they interview me. Captain Ron was there. You remember this, right, Ron? And so BBC rolls in with all their cameras and things, and they wanted to know about, at the time it was the UAP task force report that was coming out. They wanted my opinion on it. And I tell them, and it turned out I was right, what I told, but they didn't air it. And they didn't consider my point of view. Why? Because I wasn't rowdy and I wasn't radical, Department of Defense, and, we got to go fight them aliens, and because I didn't have that view, and I was speaking honestly for the community, that the community is looking forward to disclosure, but they didn't, that's not interesting enough. This community isn't important to them. And it's just totally frustrating. So you're here as a member of the media. Isn't this amazing?
Yeah, it truly is to see so many people passionate about it. And do you believe something like this could be an alien then, or do you believe what?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a thing in physics and science that everything is possible. Yeah. It's called probabilities. Give it enough time and everything will happen. So when you say, do I think that? Yeah, absolutely. Could it be? Oh, 100% it could be. Is it? I don't know. I don't know. Elle, thank you. Here, take this back to the UK and tell them Jimmy Church sent you.
Thank you.
Elle from the UK. Okay, say that again.
What was the video? You're back there.
Oh, that was a really cool green light. Yeah, very cool. Steve runs this, and so before you leave tonight, he's going to tackle you at the door to see that. So, and this is how frustrating it is to me. So I realize what we're up against and how the media will pick and choose when to light the fire on this. And it seems like we made some headway for a minute. And because I'm in this strange position, I'm getting information. I'm getting the agencies. Somebody from the NSA many times is reaching out and they want to talk or this and I'm at the middle of it and I'm collecting this info. That doesn't mean I'm the keeper of the secrets. I don't even want to imply that. Plus, I don't want my house raided. But I don't want to imply that. But I will say this, that I have been fed these things. And from time to time, when I'm given a piece of information, I will call up 2 or 3 friends and I'll say, get out a pen, write this down. Okay, what am I writing down? Don't worry about it. This will be important later. Just write these numbers down and write this date down. And I'll call 2 or 3 friends. And then I'll wait to see if it is confirmed later. That way I know that whoever is speaking to me is not lying or is not using me to spread disinformation. I totally understand that I'm in a position of power when it comes to the community in that I have a loud voice, literally, and people listen to me. And I can't misinform. I can't do it. I just won't do it. And if the information confirms, then I know that whoever is talking to me is not BSing me. And this happens daily. I'm telling you, it happens daily. And this is what happened. So I'm out buying this house. And I'm staying at a hotel and I'm looking at property in Palmdale. This is a little over a year ago. And it's 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I need a Big Mac. So I go out of the hotel and I go down, I'm standing in the parking lot and I'm looking and it's all black. I'm like, there's Edwards Air Force Base. Big Mac can wait. I jump in the car, turn on the navigation, I look up Edwards, there it is. I see this street, as close as I can get to Edwards. Follow my GPS, I drive out. Turns out I drive right into the middle of the Mojave Desert. And I'm as close as I can get. And I pull over. I get out of my car, Jeep. I go across the street. And I didn't realize this till the next day, but I'm at the fence line. The no trespassing, we will shoot you in the face, trespassing signs are in front of me. And I'm just looking at Edwards, and I can see it off a couple of miles, and it's lit up like a mirage, and it's lit up, and it's kind of fluttering off in the distance. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And at that moment, as I live and breathe, my cell phone is in this hand. It's right here. And I see just above, straight out in the black sky, I see gray static on a TV screen. About this big. Most people here don't remember gray static. Jeff still has rabbit ears at his house. He knows about static. And that's what I see. And it lasts and then at that, a ring of lights on the bottom goes brrr, black. I'm like, no. Does it again. Gray static, brrr, black. I'm like, man, I can't believe I didn't have my phone. Oh. And I fire it up, I get it on video, and I stand there for 20 minutes. Nothing. Right? I get back in the Jeep, I drive back, I get my Big Mac, I go back to the hotel, and I'm scrambling, like, what was that? And I'm convincing myself, believe it or not, I'm talking myself off the cliff. I'm like, it was lights on the top of a tower. It's the runway. It's for the airplanes. It's warning lights, Jimmy. It's not a flying saucer. Next morning, I get up, have breakfast. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm meeting my realtor at like 1, 2 o'clock. And I finish breakfast. I walk back out in the park and I'm looking, I'm like, there's Edwards. I'm going back. So I jump in the Jeep. I take off, follow my GPS. It's marked, right? Pull up. And now, the crazy part is during the day, I was like, I was in the middle of the desert. Had I known, I wouldn't have done it because I realized how far out and alone you are in the middle of the Mojave Desert. But I pull up, I see my tire tracks, I pull over, I go across the street, there's my footprints in the dirt. And I look across at Edwards, and where I saw this thing the night before, it's nothing but blue sky. There's no towers, the mountains are below it, and I'm imagining where I saw it the night before, and now I gotta be the flying saucer dude. I got to be the flying saucer guy. How do I tell that story without describing it as a flying saucer? It's like, welcome to Palmdale, right? But this is a real experience. So I turn around and I go on the air and I tell the story, and I end up getting the house. My license, I'll be happy to show this to any of you, says Palmdale. My new address, my registration, my Jeep is black. It says fade to black on the license plates, right? My registration is now at that address, and I am the crazy overnight UFO radio guy living in Palmdale, the most secret city in America. Do you think that they know that I'm there? Of course they do. And so this is what happens. Ramon, I know you've heard this story many times, but you get to hear it again tonight. And it hasn't changed. It's still the same story. I drive away. I go up. I'm looking at the GPS and I decide I'm going to crash the gates at Edwards Air Force Base. I'm not making up a word of this. I'm in a church. And I exit, I go to this town, it's called Rosamond. Anybody know Rosamond? It's about this big. Dennis, you were born in Rosamond. It's like this big. So I pull out, this is Men in Black, this is the agencies. And I pull all the way up to the entrance of Edwards, and I realize that I can't drive through the gates. There's a serpentine thing, and I can't go through, and I'm not going to. It's very intimidating, and there's lots of guards. And I pull over in this parking lot and I sit. And as I'm sitting there, I'm alone, this parking lot's empty, and I see the gate open. And then I see these guys come out and they get in this black SUV, and the SUV's pulling out, and I was like, come on. No, this is not happening. And they pull out and they're driving really slow, like a mile an hour. I'm looking at them, they're looking at me, they pull around, and they park right next to me, right here. And I'm looking at them, my window's down, I can't see in, it's tinted, and I'm like, okay, you guys win, I'm out of here. And I put the Jeep in reverse, I pull out, they follow me. I'm shaking just telling this story. And they're right on the bumper of my Jeep, and we drive up the street, and I can see on my GPS that in front of me is nothing but the Mojave Desert for the next 100 miles. And there's nothing out there, and they're following me. And I pull into this, they're building houses or something, and I pull into that. They're following me. I go around, I get stuck in this cul-de-sac. They're following me. I turn around out of the cul-de-sac. Again, they're just like this, right on me. I pull back out. I go up to the stoplight. I make a right-hand turn. I drive back, and I pull in. I'm like, I got to save myself. There's a Rite Aid. And I pull into Rite Aid. They park in back of me. I go into Rite Aid. I'm staying at a hotel. I don't need anything. I buy beer nuts and water, pork skins. I don't know. And I put everything on the counter, and I'm looking at them, and I could see them. And I go back out, and I stand there, and I just look at them for a second. I'm like, come on, man. And I get in and I can barely steer. I'm like shaking for real. And I pull out and then I see the Highway 14 and I jump on the freeway. They drive back to Edwards and I head back. But now they've got my name, right? They've got my license plate. They know everything. And since then, we've been playing this cat and mouse for the last year. And they know I'm there and I'm not going to go anywhere. And I'm going to continue to talk about these videos and the things that I've seen, and I'm not going to stop. And I do all of this because of the community. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. I mean, serious. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Come on. That's pretty cool. That's George and I, my first night on the air at Coast to Coast. Man, I'm such a kid. That's 10 years ago. Wow, look at that. All right, next slide. This is not an ego picture. This Nathan took. I've never posted it. I've never done it. But today I was going through Coast to Coast pics and I saw this. I was like, man, it's a handsome bastard. And I haven't seen this picture in probably 6 years, 7 years. And I thought I'd share it with you tonight. Next picture. It's pretty cool. It's a good picture. Okay, stop right here. Back to the media. This is when I was on Channel 7 News. This is when I first started the show. That was the bunker back then. You can see the windows the walls are empty. You got to see this right here. There's a Prince's phone. That's my phone system. And you can see my computer here is on sitting on a box, right? And that's how I got started, right there. And ABC came in to do a story on me, and that's neither here nor there. But the picture is interesting because that's the studio then when I first started on the air. Next slide. And that's my studio today. That's it. So this is how it runs. There's 3 monitors here. This is a very hot laser. I'll catch the building on fire, so I got to move it. There's the monitors. There's my microphone right here. The computers are down here. There's more computers back here and here. But that's where I sit every night, and that's where I broadcast from. The cameras are mounted here, facing this way, and that is the bunker today. Go back to the other picture. Back up. That's 10 years ago. Next. And that's today. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of it, actually. It's pretty cool. Lisa Frith, who is behind me. Lisa, you still there? These are my crystal skulls, courtesy of Lisa Frith. Next picture. Okay, that's Coast to Coast. Oh, is that it? Was that the last one? Okay, let's go back to questions.
So my question is this. I got into UFOs in the mid-90s with my abduction experiences, and then I wrote for UFO Magazine 2000 to 2004, and then I moved to Arizona, and then we came back, and I went Catholic in the meantime, so I dropped out of UFOs, and I was like, they're demons, and then now I'm like, okay, maybe they're not demons, or some of them are, I don't know, and now I'm coming back into it. But the new thing, because I'm playing catch-up now, my new obsession is Tartaria research. And I wanted to know, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to know how you relate that.
Everybody wants to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Tartaria, in a nutshell, is this concept that we have been sold a lie about the history of civilization, and that there's evidence in the architecture all over the world when you see recurring buildings like domes, towers, spires, columns.
3 doors.
That they are actually free energy devices, these old classical buildings that are all over the earth. And that they have a through line. There's like a culture that must have built these, and that we are told a different story about where they come from, but they may have all come from some previous civilization. So this idea of resets, of the controllers writing history, right? and that when these resets happen, whether they're instigated by those controllers or by aliens or by some kind of cosmic or cataclysmic event, that they rewrite history, they start a new narrative, and so therefore we don't really know the truth about the past, and we seem to be being pushed into a reset right now, and so this is like awakening in everyone's consciousness. And so anyway, I just wanted to know if you have thoughts on tying that in to UFO encounters.
I think we are in the middle of a reset right now.
Yeah.
And here, I'm going to expand on that a little bit. One of the things, if you listen really close to what the Department of Defense is talking about, if you listen really close to some of the things that Lou Elizondo has stated, and others, very strange comments. And one of them is, well, they may not be from out there. Maybe they've been here all along, and it's a civilization living alongside of us. Now, wait a minute. How can the military suggest something like that unless they know something, right? Now, I just want to hear applause for a second. What would scare the crap out of you more? Aliens visiting us from interstellar deep space, or civilization that's been here the whole time and they have been keeping that from us? What would scare the crap out of you more? The second one, right? Isn't that like the crazy? And they are suggesting this. It's like, wait a minute, what is it that you know that you're not sharing with the rest of us? Now, wouldn't that be a great reset? Here's an example. We've been talking about Atlantis for a long time. Is this what they're talking about? Remember, you can't say the A word, either one. You can't say Atlantis or you can't say aliens or you're crazy, right? You can't say these things. Well, now they're suggesting this to us. Is it possible that there have been civilizations living here in deep history that have survived, maybe have died off and ended? Maybe Antarctica is a good place to look. I would definitely suggest that. But it seems to me that they know this. And that would be a huge, great reset. If this entire planet had to suddenly relearn history and understand that there was a civilization living in the Atlantic Ocean this entire time. We've been seeing UFOs in the sky, and you're telling us that we're crazy and that it's psychosis and we're imagining things, and we just want to feed our ego and we want to be popular with our friends by telling these ET stories. This is how they refer to our community. And now you're telling me the opposite? That there may be a civilization living among us this entire time, and that's what the Tic Tac may be, and that would be a great reset. Wouldn't that be Civilization 2.0? So yes, I totally agree with that. When the important part about this is when we look at, I'm going to be in Egypt next month, and I'm looking forward to this. But whether Egypt is the Giza pyramids are 10,000 years old or 4,000 years old, to me that doesn't matter. They were built somehow by something that we have forgotten and we don't understand. I firmly believe that. There's just no way. We can't build it today. I'm going to continue to try to figure this out. But it's not just Giza. It's Peru, it's Cusco, it's Chaco Canyon, it's Stonehenge, Karahunj in Armenia. All of these ancient sites around the world that we can't explain that predate Göbekli Tepe, Pumapunku, that predate Giza by 7, 8, 9, 10,000 years or longer. Who built these places? And why is it that you don't want to talk about it? And why is this not in the history books? When we look at something like, what's that? 100%. 100%. 100%. No question about that. I'm still curious about what's going on off the coast of Cuba. And I don't want to talk about that. We have Bemini Road in the Bahamas. And New Britannia, off of the coast of the UK. Of India, right? There's an entire city off the coast of India under the ocean. But what may be going on in Antarctica? Well, these are technologies, like you were just saying, that could be a connected grid network. And there's no reason for me to think anything different. Where did the power come from? I don't want to go full woo here. The point is, the rocks are there, right? The temples are there, the construction are there. When there wasn't writing in the world, there wasn't, if we listen to Orthodox academia, there wasn't a form of writing. There wasn't a way to do that. There wasn't any math. There wasn't any geometry. All of that didn't happen until 3000 BC in Mesopotamia and Egypt. Well, who built these fantastic sites around the world? Orkney Island is another example. So yeah, I think the Great Reset could possibly be right in front of us. And the government, they can't say anything because they have to answer too many questions. If there's been free energy this whole time on this planet, and world hunger, electricity, our schools, heating, air conditioning, feeding the world, transportation, and everything that comes in, and you've had this technology the whole time and you were aware of it, that's a bigger problem than ETs are going to be here next week. And that's why I think it's going to continue to get squashed until it's out of their control. You're next. You want to come on up?
Yeah, Ron from Burbank here.
Hey, Ron from Burbank.
Back to the beginning with Space Force. Well, first, I have a couple comments about parallel universes. Mathematicians have figured out that they figure there's at least 11 other dimensions. And I think that the veil between our dimension and the other dimensions, they're getting thinner. And the other thing, I did see a rocket blast off from Vandenberg, but what was more exciting than that was in '81, I was at Rogers Dry Lake Bed for the first shuttle landing. Oh. And that was tremendous. But the question they had about Space Force was, when Trump came up with that, you think he really cared about Space Force or just wanted something with his name on it for his ego?
Yeah, and thank you for that, Ron. You get a T-shirt, young man. And also think of me tonight, okay? This is the thing about Space Force. Is it because, and it kind of goes back to Ronald Reagan, if you think about this just a little bit, right? If there was an alien invasion from out there and we could come together. Is Space Force for defending the planet or for something else? That's the curious thing. And then, did you guys see the new Space Force logo? I didn't put them up. With the Pharaoh? No. What? You guys, I didn't. You haven't seen the new Space Force logo. It's King Tut's gold sarcophagus with the North Star above it. That's the new Space Force logo. King Tut, a pharaoh. Now, somebody help me out. What is, so they're sitting around, Ron, think about this for a second. They're sitting around a table and they're looking at the new logos going, okay, what do you got? What's your pitch? Okay. But that's the one they picked. Okay, so I'm with Space Force. I'm actually, if you guys want to come up to me later, I'll show you some pictures of me getting arrested. Who saw that picture? Of me getting arrested. You saw it? Pretty cool, huh? I took one for the team. I crossed the line. Yeah, at Vandenberg. It was crazy, huh? They meant business. Guns. Anyway, I asked him about the Star Trek thing, and this is what they told me, that Star Trek got their logo from the original Space Command in the 1960s. That Delta was already in use by the Air Force in the 1960s. I didn't know that. So they turned around and stole it again from Star Trek. And that's what they told me at Vandenberg this weekend. I had no idea. I thought they stole it from Star Trek, which I thought was a cooler story. Okay. Hi, how are you?
Hi there. There's a theory that I've gotten into, and it was from Coast to Coast, listening to Coast to Coast, on the electric universe and thunderbolts of the gods. Now, what we've been talking about is underground. We've been talking about Tesla. We've been talking about all of the things. When I was out at Laughlin, I was talking to Clifford Mahooty back in 2019, and I also worked on an archaeological dig out in Barstow, and there was a Native American woman there that I got close with, and they talked about the ant people. The people from underground are part of the native lores from forever. And so if you get Tesla, well, the electric universe people, they're very predictive. They don't believe in the Big Bang. It's just a mathematical concept. And so all of these things are starting to fall together because the electric universe people are predicting that all planets are hollow. So why don't we hear more about this in the UFO community and the community where Robert Schoch comes from, that's the electric universe, they don't get into the UFOs. And it seems like all these pieces are fitting together and people are missing the big picture.
No, they're not, though. They're not. And thank you for that. We're on a collision course, people. I firmly believe that this community, Ron just brought up string theory and 11 dimensions, something that this community has been talking about a long time. Consciousness, what is consciousness? Dimensions, interdimensionality. We can tag this all the way from UFOs to Bigfoot, but we've been talking about this for a long time. And physics now, Ron just brought this up very elegantly. String theory, if you follow Brian Greene, great physicist, and the things that he's saying is that there are 11 dimensions, maybe more. Well, wait a minute. We've been talking about this for a long time in this community. Now, Brian Greene and the string theorists and physics, also quantum computing and quantum computers and how qubits work, those work because of parallel worlds. And those qubits are able to connect with another particle on the other side of the universe, change its state, and allow it to compute on a chip. They don't know how it works, but they're okay with saying it's a parallel world, right? There's some kind of entanglement going on. So we now have a 1 and a 0 and a both. And that's how quantum computers work. Wait a minute. We've been talking about this in this community for a long time. So as long as they keep doing that and the electric universe keeps doing what they're doing and science and physics keeps doing what they do, you know what's going to happen? We're going to collide head on. And we're going to find out that we're all on the same team and that we're not as crazy as we've been talking about this entire time. And if Brian Greene gets his way, if Avi Loeb gets his way, if the James Webb Space Telescope gets their way, and we get our way, we're all on the same team. And we're going to find out that all of this is real. Once one domino falls, it all comes apart, right? Completely. And so how do we answer some of these questions? And I'm going to thank you for this. How is ET getting here? Well, we've thought about this in this community for a long time. Flying saucers, some ET, cruising, on the ship. Is it that? Is it some nuts and bolts thing, the original hypothesis? Is it faster than light travel? Is it bending space? Well, now the conversation in physics is about FTL, faster than light travel, and the connectivity of the universe. And I go, wait a minute. Thornhill and the electric universe guys have been talking about this for 20 years. You wouldn't pay them any attention, right? And the thought of a Dyson sphere, a hollow planet out there somewhere connected in the electric universe, sending energy and communications all around in a spider web of things. Now we had Tabitha's star, you remember that? And when that surfaced and that went out, where the science community is saying, hey, this might be evidence of a Dyson sphere. Well, we've been talking about this for a long time. Why is it that now, because physics and there's been some reporting, Wolf here sends me these newspaper articles all the time, and the communication of science and how they are making these direct references to what this community and what I have and all of us have been yelling about for a very long time. And now we are at the very brink of this. I firmly believe that through the efforts of Avi Loeb and the Galileo Project, I am trying to get science on our side, because I believe that science is trying to prove all of this stuff on their own. But once the domino falls, I'm telling you, ghosts are real. I believe that, but they're going to help us prove that. They're going to help us understand how consciousness forms and what happens after we die. This is the stuff that physicists want to tell us, that there's a multiverse, that there are parallel worlds, that there are 11 dimensions, that we have entanglement, we have all of these things. Well, that's what we've been talking about. So let's let them do their thing. And as long as they do that, then I'm able to bring them into this community to show everybody that we're not crazy. So I'm going to stick to it. Next question. Yes. Yes, come on up. We've got about 15 minutes. I've got a lot of shirts. If you've got questions, come on up. Let's do. I'm serious. I want to hear from everybody. Step up to the mic.
Yeah, so anyway, I have had experiences here in Los Angeles where with frequency I've seen UFOs over my house, you know, to the point where B-52 came flying low over my house during a certain period of time. So I think about two things. About, number one, I'm getting frustrated because I would like to be able to start reporting my sightings because they're multiple. Is there a trusted place or source, you know, where we can actually give the information and not get in trouble with the government, you know, or do we have any guarantee that the government's going to leave us alone if we just, you know, log in that data? You know?
Right. I mean, Steve will tell you, I would immediately point you at two people. Peter Davenport, the National UFO Reporting Center, correct, Steve?
Still at it.
Still at it. That is the national database, and he's great and anonymous, and you can just input your data. If you want to reveal who you are, you can do that too as well. And then there is Cheryl Costa, who is also amazing. And who else, Steve? Yeah, MUFON. I mean, that's obvious.
It's a little bit antiquated, but it is at least, it is a repository, you know, even now.
Right.
So, Bigelow. But you know what?
What's that?
Bigelow bought the whole database. He bought the MUFON. Yeah, Bigelow. He bought it. Yeah.
So, but Peter Davenport, the National UFO Reporting Center, he's up in Seattle. He's got a 1-800 number, and you can call him, report it, and then he's got stuff that you can do online and take it from there. There are a couple of things that will be coming out over the next year, 2022 and 2023, of interactive databases to report online. And so if you follow me, I'll be sharing that. I do know two different individuals right now that are working on software to update, and also through the software and through the application to connect with people in your area too as well, if you want to get together, sort of like a meetup. I didn't give you a shirt? There you go. Next question.
But here's my question. You started off with talking a little bit about Men in Black, and I have personally some memories about them, but whenever I tried to do some research on Men in Black, it almost seems like there's nothing out there, and I know now you even alluded to it, right? There's this new modernized, I guess, Man in Black, you know, where they're...
I had a Woman in Black story at my house.
If you'd like to share, I'd like to hear a little bit more about it, or something recent, and maybe where we can get...
This is very recent. Again, I've told the story a few times, not that many times, but if you've heard it, I apologize. But I'm sitting at my house, and doorbell rings. I'm in a gated community, can't get in, right? So if you are on the other side of the gates, you got through somehow. So the doorbell never rings, ever. Unless my neighbor's coming over to borrow sugar, but there's nobody pulling up in front of the house, ever. Doorbell rings. Wow, that's kind of weird. So I go and I answer the door. It's a lady in black. She had a dark gray suit on. I want to say Hispanic, but I'm not fully sure. I was confused. Anyway, she had an iPad with her, and she goes, Jimmy Church? I said, who's asking? How many people live in this home? Is it just your daughter and your wife? Who are you? I'm from the census. Get out of here. And I shut the door. She knocks. I open it back up. And she said, my boss needs to make sure that you and I have talked. I said, the census, your boss? And she's like on this iPad thing. I said, I'm sorry, you've got to go. She had a badge and stuff. And I shut the door. And I walked. And I sat there. That was the weirdest thing I've ever, and she was probably well-dressed, 40 maybe. The next day, sitting on the back patio drinking coffee, doorbell rings. And I went, no, I'm serious too. I open up the door, it's her and 3 dudes that are linebackers from Oklahoma University. Big dudes. And I remember all in suits, and the guy on this side had red hair and it was a flat top and just a corn-fed 250-pound weightlifter, big guy. It freaked me out. All 3 of them were the same size, but he caught my attention. Freckles. She goes, okay, Mr. Church, we need to talk. I said, no, we don't. And she's got her laptop, and these dudes are just like this. I'm not making this up. And I look over the shoulder, and there's 2 like Crown Vics. What's that? Oh, sorry, Dennis. Sorry. 2 Crown Vics across the street. And I said, listen, you guys, I don't know what you want. I'm not giving up my personal information. No, my boss needs this stuff. So who's your boss? And I shut the door. And as they stood there for a few minutes, and I'm standing, I think they knew I was on the other side of the door. And finally, I go around and I peek out the side window, and they're walking across the street. The mistake that I made was I didn't videotape. And it's the one thing I regret. I should have run out and I should have, the license plates, the cars. But what were they doing at my house 2 days in a row? Was it Palm Beach? No, this was in Burbank. Okay. Yeah. Steve, don't give away my actual house. Can we? In this area, it was in this area. The house that you were at. So, okay, next. Okay.
Grand Canyon, Colorado River. Do you have any idea about the whether there are ETs in the caves, the hieroglyphics done on the cave?
I believe that is the case. Yes, I do. Now, I've had a few friends that have gone down there exploring drones. They think that they have found the entrance, but that part of the Grand Canyon where the cave is completely restricted. You can't go there. You can't. That's off limits. But I do believe the original newspaper reports that specifically talk about not only what they found in those caves and the Egyptian artifacts that were there, but that the Smithsonian, this is all, you can read it in the press, showed up, took control of the situation, emptied the caves, and all of the evidence is gone, and now that end of the Grand Canyon you can't access anymore. So yeah, I think that there was something to it. More so than that, the answer is yes. But I believe, going back to what we were talking about earlier, that we have had transoceanic cultures going around this planet for a long time. When you look at Göbekli Tepe, 12,000 years old, where did that knowledge come from? We were talking about this earlier, Camille. Where did the knowledge come from to carve and quarry stone pillars 12,000 years ago, when the rest of the planet allegedly is running around in animal skins, digging for seeds in the dirt for food? But yet, these beautiful columns are carved and are dated 12,000 years ago. Who taught them how to do it? Somebody taught. They didn't wake up one day and go, I know, honey, I'm supposed to be digging for seeds in the dirt, but let's go quarry some stones. What do you say? Right? No, that stuff is taught. It's not, somebody that has woke up one day and decided to do that. So yeah, I do believe. I do.
I'm John. I was born in Hollywood. I spent my life at JPL working as an engineer. I want to make an observation. I've been interested in UFOs 30 years before you were born. But I think really we all have to understand that there are two amazing things that have happened in our world in the last 2 years.
Number one,
they're all about the Tic Tac revelations.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Tic Tac revelations did two things. Number one is we all know that the community that you've complained about being ignored, it can't be ignored anymore, because Tic Tac proved that unidentified aerial phenomena are real.
Mm-hmm.
The data is conclusive.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely real. And now it's a question of not do they exist, it's whose are they or where are they from? The second thing is, it's amazing, is, how could I forget the second?
Okay, well, think about that for a second. But let me address the first point, which is now that the Tic Tac has been revealed and the witnesses have come forward, Dave Fravor and everybody else, Sean Cahill and the Princeton and the Nimitz, that this is definitive proof. Well, I'm not sure what it's proof of. Now, to suggest that it's aliens or ET, I would like to think so. And you just saw this in the hearings with the Senate, with the House subcommittee, that they want to get this over to Russia and China, that this is a Russia and China thing, and that they've leapfrogged us in technology. And that's where this divide has happened right now, where we can have a serious discussion of where are they from, what's going on, and let's analyze this, where the Department of Defense, in front of the Senate or the House subcommittee, wants to push this fear agenda that the Russians and the Chinese are able to come into our airspace with impunity, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And that's where I have the big issue. Is it interstellar? I don't know.
17 years ago, the Nimitz.
Yeah, 2004.
18 years.
Yeah, 2004. And why is it? I'll take it a step further. And you JPL guys, you know the secrets. I think you're a plant. You guys know the secrets, and the head of NASA, the current administrator of NASA, Nelson, just recently said some pretty amazing things, that he knows that there's life out there, that there's something going on, and NASA and JPL is going to continue to search for this stuff. And I think that Bill Nelson, and I think that's a pretty extraordinary statement. Does he know something? I think so. I think that there's been enough evidence that has been collected, radar and everything else, and satellite, fast walkers and things entering and exiting Earth's atmosphere, that NASA and JPL definitely has a pretty firm grip about what may or may not be going on. I do believe that. But when it comes to the Tic Tac, if something went from 80,000 feet to sea level in front of a carrier battle group and did that in less than a second without an explosion, you have inertia. The ocean we should have had tidal waves, right? With that kind of speed and, what's the word, Steve? You're a pilot. Velocity?
Yeah, well, you didn't have a shock wave.
A shock wave. See, that's why Steve's here. None of that happened. So if somebody on planet Earth has that technology and our Department of Defense says it's not us, that it's got to be somebody else, then we need to seriously figure out what's going on. But here's the curious thing. This is why I think it was ET. It's not what everybody else thinks. A von Neumann probe, let me look at my watch. We're at the end of this. A show of hands, who knows what a von Neumann probe is? One, that's it. A von Neumann probe. Now, von Neumann was a physicist, and he proposed that an ET civilization out there, if it was advanced enough, would build self-replicating probes to go out and look at the Milky Way. Right? They would build themselves, like 3D printing. And he suggested this in the 60s. It would be a dumb unit. It would have a specific job, like Perseverance on Mars, right? Where you would try to avoid trouble and collect data. And that's kind of what the Tic Tac did. The Tic Tac didn't fire back. It didn't try to shoot down the F-18s. It didn't show anything that was offensive. All it did was get away from us. Right? Now, wouldn't that be what a dumb probe would be doing here on this planet? Just simple instructions. Avoid trouble, collect data, get out. And that's kind of what the Tic Tac did. Yeah. You guys understand what I'm trying to suggest here? Yeah. Listen, everybody, I had a wonderful time tonight.
Jimmy, thank you so much for coming. Give him a big hand.
Come on. UPARS is back.